Darnell Washington had 4 catches for 67 yards against the Bengals the other day. And that's really all there was to say about that performance, right? Right? Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers presented by FanDuel. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates that I hope you'll check out. Darnell had himself a day. He had himself one of those days that resonate beyond the fan base of his own team. That's how viral that 31-yard play went on social media, and it deserved to, between the stiff arm and the other terrible thing that he did to somebody, and then the final terrible thing that he did to somebody else, followed by just standing over the poor dude long enough, short enough, that he wasn't going to get a flag, letting everybody know that he's there. We get it. We get it. We see it. The question now, which really shouldn't be a question at this stage, is whether or not the coaches and management are going to see it and act upon it and recognize that if there's a breakout happening right in front of them, it's okay to ride that breakout to the next level. That's where Darnell is right now. I don't think that's a stretch. I don't think that's hyping him up. I don't think that's exaggerating a good day against the NFL's worst defense. What I think of Darnell when I see him on the field, first off, what I think of Darnell when I see him off the field is I can't believe he exists. He's just the largest human you'll ever see. And I understand there are people who are taller. There are people who weigh more. There's just not that combination of overall bulk that fits on a frame that isn't remotely overweight or carrying anything extra. And this despite his being 6'7" and right around 300. Forget the official listing of 264. He hasn't been that in quite some time, and his teammates will tell you that. And in the telling moment that he and I had in the preseason, this was in a talk after the game down in Jacksonville, Florida, he kind of laughed at the whole thing about his official weight and what his teammates say he is and all that other stuff. He's right around 300. He's a monster. And what I think about Darnell when I see him on the field, especially when he makes some of the catches that he does, when he shows the hands that he does, when he exhibits the greatest single improvement that he's made as an NFL player since his arrival, that being his first athletic move upon making the reception. You'll remember on this program, some of you, back around the time of his first summer here, that had been a consistent criticism, and that had been a source of at least some doubt as to whether or not he'd become a reliable tight end, never mind whatever it is that we're watching now. And he and the coaching staff and everybody else worked on that relentlessly, and you can see the results. He is doing stuff that other humans can't do. And that's a heck of a space to be in the realm of professional sports, where most people don't have that much of a physical edge over anyone else. And if you do this in football, just football, that applies to positions. He's a tight end who blocks well above the level of a tackle, never mind a tight end. He's a weapon with the ball in his hands that's, I don't want to go too far. I'm trying really hard not to go over the top. I don't want to say there's never been another one like him. Or we had Eric Green here in Pittsburgh back when there really wasn't anyone else like Eric Green. But what makes Darnell unfair, and that is the operative term when you see that big play that he made, the stiff arm and all that, is that he leaves his own category as soon as he catches the ball. Now he's not Darnell the monster at the line pushing people off. He's going up against these very, very small humans. And when he flicks them off, I don't know how many of you are Marvel Comics people. I'm actually not. I'm a DC guy. I've been DC forever. But for those of you who are, you'll appreciate this. When the Fantastic Four were fighting Galactus, yeah, see, you comic geeks, you know what I'm about to say. Well, when they were fighting Galactus was like probably the equivalent of about 24, 25 story building. This was a monstrous dude with this giant red headgear. And all four of the heroes would be doing these different things to Galactus. Human Torch would be shooting his flames. The Thing would be pounding away like, I don't know, at his ankle or something. Mr. Fantastic, I guess, was just stretching and being smart, and the Invisible Girl turned invisible because she might as well have been in this particular combat. But Galactus didn't even flinch, man. Galactus didn't even know they were down there. When I read that as a kid, that was really powerful to me. This guy's so far above them, he doesn't even know they're down there. That's actually what crossed my mind in watching that run the other day at Acrisure Stadium. My friends, when you have someone like this, no one should be wasting anybody's time doing a podcast suggesting that you utilize him more often. But just in case, I'd like to have it understood that in the Steelers' 10 games to date, Darnell has caught the football 18 times. He has put together an average of 11.61 yards per carry on a total of 209, and he has 1 touchdown. One more time. 18 catches, 1 touchdown. Don't make me state the obvious. But wait, believe it or not, that can be topped. It really can. Tommy Jaggy, who writes for the website Fansided, has been tracking Washington's usage with the Steelers ever since he was drafted. And he's got the historical stat to end all historical stats. You're going to want to sit down for this. When Darnell plays over 40 offensive snaps, which he wasn't this season until recently, when Darnell's out there for 40 offensive snaps, that's not targets, that's not catches, that's just literally being on the field. From 2023 to right now, the Steelers are 9-0, and they average 111 rushing yards per game. They've produced 9 total rushing touchdowns, and they've outscored their opponents in those games 231 to 151. Now, is there some correlation versus causation to inject into this? Of course there is. When you're ahead in games, you're going to run more. When you're going to run more, you're going to have your monstrous tight end out there more. And I don't know about you, I'm not fighting perfection when I see it. And I'm not getting in the way of anything that's Darnell related when I see it. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from Stanton Smith, who asks DK serious question. What's keeping Mason Rudolph from being a starter? Personally, I'm not sure why the Steelers don't give him a chance in 2026 in competition with Will Howard. I don't keep up with college football, but I've heard that there's not much in terms of quarterbacks coming out in the NFL draft next spring. You know, I have resisted, gallantly I might add, over these past 48 hours from any sort of told you so and this and that, and how I even said on this program a couple of weeks ago that if Rudolph were, for whatever reason, to be inserted into this offense, there's a chance that he'd be a better fit because he would stay in the pocket, he would make your offensive line look more professional, he would have you stick closer to the playbook and all the X's and O's as they're intended to be executed. But yeah, gallantly I say, I've done no such thing. Hee hee hee. But also, over the course of the long summer in which I had my whole big Mason spiel and how I'd rather see somebody who's committed to the team, to Pittsburgh, and all that other stuff, and we've been over this a million times, I also, as Aaron Rodgers came into the fold, recognized that he, to his considerable credit, showed up and checked every box. I mean, up, down, and sideways, intangibly, tangibly, got it all done. Was more than anyone could have reasonably expected. Good for him. My view of Mason, of course, didn't change because why would it have? He was not being utilized except for mop-up and the significant action that he saw in the preseason. So he goes out there Sunday against the Bengals, and he looks and feels a lot like that 2023 guy. Here again, reminding everybody he was facing the Cincinnati defense. But the traits were there. The hanging in the pocket, the improved touch on the short-range passes, the ability to just kind of float balls into an area the way Ben Roethlisberger used to love to do. The deep balls, the heaves, facing forward, facing the football field that you're attempting to attack. All of that stuff was in play. All of it. All of it was there for all of us to see. So to try to answer your question, Stanton, without revisiting the whole Ben didn't like that Mason was drafted at the time he was drafted and all that other drama and everything else that went into it, and then the concussion when Mason got his chance in 2019 and the lies that Myles Garrett tried to spread that I'm sure had some kind of effect on him, then a whole long period of inactivity. Here's what we know right now and what we can react to right now. Mason's 29 years old. Mason's got a really good amount of experience in the NFL for someone who's his age, certainly for someone who has not been a committed starter except for a couple of short spells and then another short spell in Nashville. No one questions his professionalism. No one questions his drive. No one questions his arm. No one questions his commitment to improving himself, even in the awful circumstance of not being able to go out there every weekend in games and exhibit exactly that, because football doesn't have a minor league. Football doesn't have somewhere they can send you to continue to get action. That's why something as silly as Will Howard hurting his finger on a snap at St. Vincent is seen by everybody, all the way to the top of the organization, as something that really, really hurts him because he's not going to be able to do this or that because he has nowhere to play. You can't just send somebody to the Canadian League or overseas or back to college. You just have to sit and watch and practice and run the scout team and study film and hope somehow that something's going to happen where you get a break. So what's keeping him from starting, Stanton? Well, it's this stupid system. It's this stupid system where there's no minor leagues. And my goodness, if there's anybody else in the country that even brings this up, let me know so I can become their pen pal or something. I feel like I'm totally alone on this. And the same thing would apply to Howard. So however this goes, this draft, when this comes up, and I know even less than you about college football, believe me. However that class unfolds, whatever quarterback might or might not be available to the Steelers, they do have these two guys. They do have Rudolph and Howard. And I'm purposely not even throwing in Rodgers because just watching him these past few weeks, that doesn't look like somebody that would come back at age 42. But to rule them out, to say, especially Rudolph, I mean, he's been around, more of a known commodity, is silly. And it flies in the face of precedent that's easily available to everyone across the league. Quarterbacks who were given up on after 2-3 years, and then they go somewhere else, or they learn something new, or they find within themselves an extra push, that's who becomes Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield. And everyone who's listening to this right now and laughing at it, believe me, I can find a zillion of those for all the quarterbacks I just mentioned. From the swamps of New Jersey to the burning river in Cleveland. These things have happened. These fans have said these things. These media members have said these things. And yet, when the quarterbacks were finally allowed to do that thing that they're being paid to do, play football, they show themselves. And what Mason does with every opportunity that he gets is show himself. Maybe that'll happen for him. Maybe that'll happen for young Will. Maybe it'll happen for both of them. But stomping on that stuff prematurely, man, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. I appreciate the question, Stan. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We're going to have a double shot of Steelers today, 4 p.m. Eastern, and a chance to talk about Mike Tomlin's press conference that takes place at noon. Sure hope you're with us.